So there's no fear, and there should be no fear, of being alone. We may not have someone around us physically, but God is present during those times. So we can confront those horrible situations with that, knowing that God is with us. Knowing that if we seek Him and His wisdom, do the absolute best we can, God will use that for His glory and our good and the person's good and the situation's good. No, that doesn't mean every result's going to be exactly what we want. We saw last week the result wasn't really good, was it? I mean, ideally it would have been nice for Jacob and Laban to part way amicably, but still have a good family relationship there. Didn't happen that way. It wasn't because of Jacob, it was because of Laban. Sometimes the results won't always be what we want, but we can rest assured and we can take comfort for the fact that God will be present with us. Number 2. I didn't give you a lot of those. Number 2. We're often going to face threatening situations. Not necessarily life-threatening situations, although sometimes you'll face those. But situations that are threatening to our well-being, threatening to our comfort, threatening to our families, threatening to relationships. Those things will happen. I think we have to keep in mind here, though, first of all, Jacob was facing a dilemma that was largely his own fault. Why did Esau hate Jacob? Because Jacob had lied and cheated him. And sometimes we have to face up to that ourselves. Sometimes the situations we have ourselves in is because of sin in our lives and we haven't handled that well, and all we do is 1 John 1:9, if we confess our sins, He's faithful and just to forgive us and cleanse us from all unrighteousness. He does it every time. So we have to be honest with God about that. We have to be honest when we're going through a scary situation that is our fault. Doesn't mean God isn't a God of grace. Doesn't mean that God isn't going to help us. But it does mean that we have to face that fact. Jacob probably had to face that. So what did Jacob do? He tried to reconcile with his brother. He tried to reconcile with him. Now, the language here, Jacob is being smart. He's approaching his brother pretty softly. Why? Because Jacob had messed up. But the situation got scarier as he learned more. Because in these verses, Jacob reacted when he heard that his brother was coming after him. According to the verse here, the size of Esau's group was huge. 400 men. That implied that he was going to attack his brother. Now, I don't know about you, but if there were 400 people coming after me, I would be scared. Jacob was scared, and rightfully so. And we have to understand that God is sovereign, and God is in control, and God plans all things and has His plan. And God allowed in His plan for Jacob to go through this situation. Sometimes we think that, boy, if it's bad, God isn't allowing it to happen. No, that isn't necessarily true. Because God will use all things together for our good and His glory. And God often will put us in a difficult situation to stretch us, to stretch our faith, so that we'll trust Him, and we'll learn how to obey. Jacob was scared. But I think Jacob also, it's fair to say that in verses 1 through 2, when he had the vision of the angels of God, and he recognized that there were two camps, his camp and God's camp, he missed one very important thing. He missed the point that God was going to protect him. Even in scary situations, folks, God is still with us. What did David say in Psalm 23? Even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil.